Welcome everyone to the Beyond Broth tribe. I want to first introduce my dear friend, brother, truth seeker, incredible artist. And Mark we did post his bio, but I just want to share a few things that I think are very worthy of sharing. First, he is an internationally known illustrator and painter, digital artist, author, and educator. He specializes in visionary art. So we'll talk a little bit about that, what that actually means for you, but so I won't add anything to that right now. And he has an in-depth understanding of the psychology of imagery and symbolism, mythology, shamanism, and storytelling. And to me, that is what is so needed right now in this time that we're being asked on a global level to really up-level our lives, our consciousness, the way we care for ourselves, each other, and this planet. And I invited Mark because for me, my experience of him is someone who shares in such a raw, vulnerable, powerful, intuitive, so much heart way, so grounded on this planet, has such a deep respect for this mother, Gaia, that for me, he's one of the ones who are helping to usher in the shift in the consciousness. So I'm honored to have you here. Thank you for joining. What I'd like to do just to begin to bring us all together is to do just a short meditation, just coming inside, settling down from the day, the week, all of the energies that have been moving through. So just finding a comfortable place to sit and closing your eyes, feeling your breath and feeling your body as it begins to settle and ground upon this earth in your seat, your feet, and feeling what is supporting you, becoming conscious of that support in your breath. Just using the breath to bring your attention inside to this body, to the feeling, the sensations. Allowing that breath to help you to drop in even more. Bringing one hand to your belly and one to your heart. And feeling that breath as it brings you into your heart and your belly. And how it's connected to the mother that we're sitting on, how we're extending these roots into holding us. And I'd like to, as your eyes are still closed, invite you, Mark, to just share an invocation, a blessing on the opening of this time that we're sharing together.
Oh, I am grateful for being here in this moment with everybody in this new world, in this virtual world. And I invite our ancestors and all of our helper guides, the unseen worlds, to be with everybody who's listening here, and to connect with us and our loved ones and our community and our world. Oh.
Uh-huh. So welcome to this new world, this new earth. This is the new earth. The topic, what inspired me to be doing these interviews, is just that, is we are creating. We have an opportunity to create and are really being asked to do that. So I was inspired because there are so many voices that I feel are I'm being called to ask them to share, and Mark being one of them. I'd like to start with that opening question that I keep posing, which is, in this post-corona coronation.
Present.
Yeah, this recalibration. What can you share as your vision in it, or how, what you'd like to share about that, what you feel and see in that?
Thanks. Well, as an artist, I'm always been an art advocate. And, I was supported being an artist as a kid by my mom, who was a elementary school art teacher. And, I was supported in the way that I could get into college and kind of find my way that way. So I was fortunate enough to know I was an artist as a youngster. I didn't really know it until I got into college, but then it was like, oh, this is good, and it was, once I got into the art school, I didn't want to learn about everything. It was like a nuclear bomb blew up inside of me. And so then I've been on this path ever since of being an artist, and then also what the arts do for the community and what the arts do for the world, and how history is, the beginning of evidence of history. Human history is the arts. It's cave paintings and sculptures that are 60,000 years old. And, now I work with kids, mostly. I've worked with 30,000 kids, and, I have a nonprofit called Drawing on Earth, and we connect art and creativity to youth and communities around the world. And so, I've just worked with 15,000 kids on a elementary school project with a district. And so the first thing I'd say on these assemblies was, I'm a professional artist. I paint and draw for a living. And everybody would go quiet
Mm.
because it's a rarity on some level to have an artist who's showing up and talking and sharing what they do. And that what I see, that we were all born creative and we basically get educated out of it. We get educated from our culture and the society. And now what I'm seeing with this corona, with this viral turn of humanity, is one is I heard people kind of freaking out that they were home and they didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
Like didn't know what to do with themselves. You know, we've been kind of compulsive about working and culture and making money and getting ahead and, you know, doing that. And for us artists, you know, I spend most of my time alone in my studio in one sense. So what the arts are all about are connecting to ourselves, and they connect to this inner world that's based, that mythology is based upon. Like there's global stories that run through the veins of the earth that we all tap into, that we can tap into. They're in our culture anyway. They're in the symbols that run our lives. You know, how George Lucas hired Joseph Campbell to coach him in storytelling, and how the Star Wars is a hero's journey. You know, it's one of the, you know, they say there's only 12 stories in the world.
Mhm.
And so we're in some type of a story right now. You know, this coronavirus somehow is I see it as a quest, and or a vision quest. And someone recently said that it's not a vision quest, because a vision quest is where you actually choose to go in and you choose to do something. And so this isn't necessarily a choice. And so he was very suspicious about, like, if we would come out of this, you know, any better, any different.
Hmm.
And so what I see is that the arts now have this, I don't know if it's potential, but the arts are, all the arts, like they're just waiting for us to discover ourselves in different ways.
Mm.
And they're, you know, you can do them by yourself. They actually support a solitary, you know, journey into exploring the physical, the natural world, you know, the world of imagination. I see that we're kind of in a crisis of the imagination, so there's something happening around that.
And do you, do you have a certain process of guiding people to, because it's another practice, you know, it's like meditation is a practice and yoga is a practice, and there are writing practices, and in the art and creative process, many people, I think, are challenged that though it might be right below the surface and they just don't even know it yet. And I'm wondering if you have a process, you know, of steps to support people in going there, and in what would help them do that.
Yes, and you know, I call that, like, it's about access, or getting in. The coveted place for the arts is the flow state. You know, when you're in this flow state, your mind is, you're in this creative place where your mind's so focused on what's happening, because there's so much information happening in the present moment that you're interacting with, that the shopping list, even the sense of self, all of that disappears. So once you're in that state, then it's easy to stay there. But the question would be, that sounds like you're asking, is like, one is like, how do you get there in the first place?
That's right.
And so, because a lot of people will say, like, I can't even draw stick figures,
That's
right?
right.
So that's a typical default, and that's unfortunately an extension of our education system
Yes.
and have where there's no art teachers in elementary schools.
Right.
You know, and that's what my whole thing is like, what do we do? Like, hello, that's where you should have art teachers, because that you want to nurture their creative spirits and you want to anchor it into their bodies so they can have access to that for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
That's what we're wanting to do on this planet, and I know that. But like, so in my drawing and painting, in all my classes that I teach, at the moment I'm teaching college classes, is that the first thing we do is we play a silly game outside where we've got to move around, and it's planned to actually feel uncomfortable. And so that's the icebreaker. And then we get in and we do these drawing exercises where have a piece of paper. And what I do is I first start off almost like what you just did, is we got a meditation where we're grounded, we're breathing. And then we'll start drawing. I don't have an example here. We just start drawing circles like this. And so we're drawing and I say, okay, we're going to do this for a while, so don't stop. Actually, before we even start, I have us wiggle our feet in our shoes. So anybody who's watching this can do this right now. You can pause it and do this. Get a piece of paper and a pencil. So all you're doing is you're doing a circle, and you'll see that you've started in a certain direction unconsciously, and you're at a certain pace unconsciously. And then I start moving your attention around your body. You know, wiggle your feet in your shoes, and then I have, you know, we're breathing. And we're moving our bodies around while we're drawing. And I take us on this whole journey of whole bodiness while we're drawing. So we instantly forget that we're drawing because I'm moving your attention around. The reason why you can't draw, or you think you can't draw, is because you're in your head and you're not drawing. And so, you know, there we're drawing. Oh, actually, the first thing we do is I say, pick up your pencil. And then I say, watch this carefully and do what I do. And we move into non-dominant hands. And then, you know, everybody does what you just did, Grace. They're like, ha, ha, ha. And so then instantly we're out of our head. Yes. And we're doing something that we know we can't do because we know we can't draw with our other hand. And so that even breaks up that whole thing. So then we go slow, so slow that we stop, and then we go so fast that we scream as loud as we can. And we do that 3 times. And at the end, you have this drawing that has like 10 minutes of circles on it. And we're all in a different place. And so I've just brought us into a flow state, because like an athlete or a musician, you do scales in the beginning, you warm up. An athlete does not run a marathon or a big race without warming up first, because they're going to get hurt. So artists never even think about that. And so then we practice a whole page of just circles, a whole page of triangles, a whole page of straight lines. And in each one of those, we start looking at values, size, direction. You know, it goes on and on and on and on.
Fabulous. I love it. I was thinking, I reflected on, do you remember Frederick Frank?
I know the name, but.
So it was back in the 80s.
Oh, he wrote a book, he wrote the book on meditation.
And The Art of Seeing. He was an artist. He's an artist.
Yeah.
And I remember doing a workshop with him back in the 80s. And one of the exercises I remembered was you close your eyes. So you're closing your eyes and you're feeling and there were all these exercises with your eyes closed, drawing a certain object or a certain, you know, from your mind's eye. So it might have been called Seeing with the Mind's Eye or something like that. But it reminds me of, you know, those just powerful ways to get out of your head and access your creative nature, really.
Right. And another one like is, you know, drawing bigger than you've ever drawn, because then you're, you know, most people are on white paper and they just draw a little bit like that and they don't understand positive and negative space. And so we get right into doing, you know.
I love it. I want to come back to I want to go to your classes. And we actually can, because Mark is offering them online, which, what a gift.
Yeah, right.
So we'll be sharing all of that information later, on Facebook when we share the video with everyone, how they can get in touch with you if they want to get into any of your classes, because I think, yes, how we can get out of our heads and create new lives. It's a creative process. And
let me say something else with that too, is that I was just talking to somebody today, and it's not just about doing like art. It's also about doing art for something or for someone.
Oh, beautiful.
And once you start doing that, so that you're actually like, in my classes at the college stuff, the moment that virus hit, we started doing virus paintings or chalk drawings, or, we went right into that space because that's what it was, that it was real. So, and that relates to the essence of shamanism, where a shamanic person goes on a journey, and that relates to artists, because that we go on journeys, like it's like a waking dream. While I'm painting, it's like it just opens up, and so I'm going and all these other things, and things are happening. But I want to come back, and it's not just about me. Is that then I want to share that, or that I want to do art for a purpose, or for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so then it makes it bigger than you.
Yes.
And when you make art for someone or something, or you could even make a piece of art that's a protection for the virus, like away from your house or from your home. Like I've had like you could do a little symbol and put it on the outside of your house, and it says something like, it would translate into like the talking to the virus, like, I know that you're there, and that you're not allowed, you're not welcome here, and you're not allowed in.
It's great. I love it. I love that.
So like, it can't hurt. That's somebody else said, that can't hurt. And that's about stepping into the imaginary realms, which is really one of the places where we're moving. I see us as the human race and consciousness, is that we're upping our game on a bunch of levels in relationship with the rest of the planet.
Yes, yes, yes. I really, I went to art school, and I remember so much of the art is at that point, and even when you're first learning, it is very self-absorbed. It's a very self-absorbed, it's a healing, it's an expression, it's all of that. But I love this, in this new way, the new earth, there's a community, it's acknowledging, it's compassion, it's bringing our shared experience out and giving and receiving in a mutually supportive way. So I love that focus, that it has purpose. Wow, it gives it so much power, and it's in everyone. And it really, to me, it comes from the heart. It comes from,
Best
what.
Place.
Yes.
Yeah. So can I share a project that I just did?
Yes, please share with us.
So my nonprofit, the Drawing on Earth, we've been drawing at the Oakland Zoo in California for the last couple years on Earth Day. And so now the zoo's closed, and I live right behind the zoo. So I go for a walk from the back of my house, and I can sit outside of the zoo and sit near 6 wolves who are about 10 feet away from me.
Wow.
And there's grizzly bears, and there's a jaguar that I can hear at night, and there's condors and an eagle. And so I had this idea, and I proposed it to the Oakland Zoo, and I said, hey, how about if I still do an Earth Day chalk drawing, and I'll set up and do a creative challenge for the world, for anybody who I know and you guys know. And the invitation is to make art for the Earth on Earth Day. And I'll do a chalk drawing, and I'll show it to you. So this is my studio. If you want to see my studio, this is the space where I socially distance, and then I have this great space you know, out here, there's a couple people who work here. We've got 10,000 square feet of studio space and sculptors.
Beautiful.
And so then here's my chalk drawing. And it's of a mountain lion. It's done in anamorphic perspective. That means if you walk on it, it'll get longer and it'll all stretch out. And it's, you know, it's 30 by 40 feet. And if you look at it from another distant direction, can we see it? You know, it's all distorted. And that's part of what makes it cool. And there's a fox, and there's mountains, there's the Sierras, and there's a little raven over there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
do I want to stay even out here? So nice.
Really stunning.
So can I grab the screen here for a moment?
Yes, please.
So with this then, here's the two pictures from that. So this is, can you see that?
Yes.
So here's the, you know, from a certain point of view, and put these little houses here because it's about a village and connection to that, you know, that we're all in this together.
Hmm.
And then here's the piece. There's the piece from above from my camera drone. So there I am standing, and it's just a very cool thing. And to be able to do it with the zoo was just awesome.
Fabulous. Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. I thought, aside from, thank you for sharing that tool to help people, that perhaps if you're still calling on, you know, sharing that if you're willing to share the exercise and you're still receiving the artwork from out there, that the challenge that you offered, maybe that's something you'd like to share with the folks here, and it could be inspiring, because I think Earth Day is still happening every day. Yeah. Is there anything more that you would like to add as far as this new Earth? Anything else you want to throw out there and offer before we start?
Yeah, you know, you and I were talking last night, and that you had that image of a chrysalis or a cocoon, and
Yes.
I read a piece by someone who had talked about that whole thing, and then I was inspired to do a piece of art around it, and you know, there is this forced being home that's happening. You know, we're like, I was thinking about men and the men's group out here, and I was thinking how when the Industrial Revolution came along, one of the worst things about it is it took men away from their homes, and it took men away from their kids, and it took men away from their sons. And then sons grew up to be they've been raised by their moms, which is a great thing, but it's different than being raised by their dads or working side by side with their dads, which they did for, you know, what, 30,000-40,000 years before that. And so now there's this return of the dad home, and I know a lot of dads are freaked out because they don't know what to do. I wrote and illustrated a book called The Art of Being a Dad, and that's because I was a freelancer, and I was, you know, I co-raised my kid with my wife, who was a writer, and we would trade off a lot. And so I had the kids a whole lot of the time. And, you know, the book's all about how to be creative with your kids and how to get down there on their level, because that's what we want to do too. We've just lost that innocence of being able to and explore the world we did. So I think there's this initiation process that's happening on the planet. I've always talked about how we've been in this teenager mode, which is, you know, basically
fuck you. And we get to evolve into this mature. The next level is to move up into a mature masculine or feminine, because that's who you are, that's who I am. And through ceremony and initiation and a lot of hard work, then we can anchor into our mature masculine bodies. And what that does is the default of that is that you get to be responsible for yourself. You get to be responsible for friends and family. You get to be responsible for the community, and you get to be responsible for the world. And that's kind of where we're going as a human race. Now there's glitches in the matrix right now happening, because there's some energies that are still recoiling and pulling back, and global village. And so there's something about the arts that are universal that just connects all of that.
Yeah.
I had a vision many years ago about being a tribal man in Africa, an old tribal man in Africa. And I traveled around from areas in conflict, war areas, war regions. And I would draw a big circle in the sand and in the dirt, and everybody from both sides would come and stand around, and I would draw pictures in the dirt that would basically illustrate how we're all connected.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what I'm doing now with Drawing on Earth. It's not crazy that it's happening, but it's like, oh right, like something bigger is happening here. And that what we're doing and what I'm doing and have the ability to do is to bring bigger things together creatively. They say the future, what the future doesn't need is any more left-brained made things, because they've lost all their meaning because we've made so many of them. All you have to do is walk into a store, and there's 10,000 pieces. There's 10,000 things in any store that wants you to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
And they say the future is going to be ruled by right-brained people, by artists. And it's because they can elicit feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and they can tell stories, and they can put things together that have never been put together before.
Yeah. As an artist myself and a dancer, one of the things that I experience when I go dance is I'll create something I've never created before. And it's almost like a game. It's almost like what can I do I've never done before? Because I love the variety. I love the exploration of what's possible. And that is vision. That's where visionaries come from, is creating what has not been made before, or maybe it has, but it's through your own sensation, your own feeling. So what's there has not been created. And I just, that's exciting to me. I think the possibility it's just so vivid and full of energy, and that's what, to me, this new earth has the potential of. Very exciting. You're showing us something else.
I'm gonna move my studio mate's gonna pull his truck out of the yard.
Okay, very good. Well, we're coming towards our end of our time together here.
I got one more thing. Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please do.
So here's one of my next ideas. So anybody who's out there who hears it and wants to help out or be part of it. So I think that this thing about a creative challenge, it's like, that's something that feels like that's a good hook. People haven't had time to do whatever. So, give people a challenge, and it's like, oh, part of their being wakes up. I think it's that little kid, like, really? Like, I get to try something new.
And
Yes.
so yeah, so I've got this project that I want to do is that I want to try to set another Guinness World Record for the world's largest chalk drawing done by an individual artist. Right? So that's a social distancing thing, we're all alone. All I need is a big parking lot. And then what I want to do is I want to invite, the creative challenge is to invite everybody to join in and to break their own world record for the largest artwork that they've ever done.
Awesome.
So if the biggest piece of art you've ever done is this big, all you have to do is a piece this big and you'll have broken your world record.
That's great. I love it.
Or you go out in the driveway and you draw something that's like, as big as 4 kids.
Yes.
Or something like that.
All right. Okay.
All right.
So inspiring. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Just so grateful to have you here with us tonight. Thank
Great,
you.
Grace. Thank you. I love you.
Love you.
Yeah.
Many blessings. Love to everybody.
Thank you for doing what you do in the world. You're feeding our bodies and our minds and our souls.
Thank you. My
Awesome.
pleasure, really.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay. All right. Be well, everyone.
Bye.